Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Monday, January 21st, 2019. It's 3:27 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. And we have a new day of data from CAMS that became available today. It's from Saturday, January 19th. We didn't have new data yesterday, so this is the next data. So I have this chosen as my base time. I have the Arctic view pulled up, and the level is surface level, and I've already loaded up the movie, and it'll be jerky this first time through. But what you're going to see, this is a continuation of where we left off with the methane being released in the Arctic Ocean here, and the waves of methane coming up from the ground in Russia. So now we can see a lot of that dark methane still coming up to the east of Novaya Zemlya. Now it's into the forecast period here. But their forecast periods are pretty accurate, especially within a day or two after the day that they have the data. And so I'm going to start it at the start here. So here it is at the beginning of Saturday. We see the red being released, and even into the darker red, like the 2140 and higher parts per billion in the Kara Sea over off the coast of Russia, and on the land there. We also have heavy methane release up here in Norway, Sweden, Finland area, and then we have the yellow-orange color and moving into red, still coming out over the Arctic. So here, and this goes forward in 3-hour increments. So as we move forward, you can see the release a little bit more. There's the next one. You can see it coming up a little bit more there, and it's spreading out in the ocean there. Here's a new bubble coming up here. Now look at this one where there's a burst with that really dark, and according to CAMS, it can be anywhere from 2160 up to 10,000 parts per billion. So it's a dark burst right to the east of the northern end of Novaya Zemlya, and then it moves and there's more coming up. So we can see that even in the middle of winter time up there, even in no sunlight, methane is coming up through the ocean, through the surface of the ocean, and whatever sea ice has come back there. So now on this view, it's the same date for the base time, Saturday the 19th, and I have the North Pole view chosen, and we can see the whole northern hemisphere. So it's a little bit smaller to see these Arctic regions, but it's good to get this North Pole, the whole northern hemisphere view as well. And I've already got the movie loaded up, and so we can see large releases like we've been seeing from India and also the Indian Ocean and from China and Asia, and it's moving out into the ocean to the east of the landmass there. Look at the big wave coming out over the ocean, and then it spreads out. So remember, this is at surface level. And then what we see is these waves are being released from the land, and then they go away, and then it cycles, and then we'll have another wave release every 2 or 3 days or so, and then large releases throughout Europe, the European areas over here, and Russia, and so forth. So now I know a lot of the climate scientists like to look at 500 HPA or 500 millibars, which is about halfway up in the atmosphere. And so I have cams pulled up for Saturday for the global view for 500 HPA, and we can see this dark color, very high levels of methane gathered up at 500 HPA all around this Arctic Circle line. And so we looked at this yesterday, but I had data from Friday, and so here's the data from compared Saturday. So we can see this is from NOAA, and it's 506 millibars, so about the same level. And this is from the METOP-2 satellite in the afternoon from January the 19th. And the high range of methane reading is 2,804 parts per billion. And here's their scale at the bottom. So that chartreuse is 2804. And so that corresponds directly, the chartreuse color, and we can even zoom in to see where this is. This corresponds directly with the dark methane that we're seeing over here in cams. Exactly. So I'm encouraged that what we're getting from cams is accurate as far as being able to see it visually in the colors. And then if you want to get the exact numbers, you can go over to NOAA and go through their different millibar settings and see what it was. And while we're on this, Sam Carana did a new blog post yesterday where he actually goes over ozone, and it's called Care for the Ozone Layer. He goes over ozone and what's going on with the ozone layer, and also he goes into recent high levels of methane being released from the Arctic. So I thought I'd share this with you too, so in case people want his backup with it. So this totally coincides with what we've been seeing in cams every day, which has been a release of methane up in the Arctic from the sea surface. And so he totally corroborates that with all of his scientific data here. But he says that stratospheric water vapor can also result from methane oxidation in the stratosphere. Methane concentrations have risen strongly at higher altitudes over the years. Noctilucent clouds indicate that methane has led to water vapor in the upper atmosphere. The danger is that, as the Arctic Ocean keeps warming, large eruptions of methane will occur from the seafloor. Ominously high methane levels have recently shown up on satellite images over the Arctic at lower altitudes, indicating the methane is escaping from the seafloor. And that's exactly what we see at CAMS when we look at the surface level. And then he's got images from the NPP satellite, like from January 6th, at 1,000 millibars, at peaking at 2,513 parts per billion. And so 1,000 millibars is basically at surface level. And then on January 11th, at surface level, 2,577 parts per billion. January 15th, peaked out surface level at 2,524 parts per billion. So I'll leave the link below and you can look at this. And then he refers to NOAA and the Met-Op satellites, and he shows he uses the reading from 840 millibars and 586 millibars. And so on January 19th, which is what we were looking at from Saturday, he has it at 586 millibars. He had methane at 2,803 parts per billion. So that was a little bit lower in the atmosphere than what we were looking at. So 2,800 parts per billion is nothing to sneeze at. And he says, increases in stratospheric water vapor are bad news as they speed up global warming and lead to loss of stratospheric ozone. It has long been known that deterioration of the ozone shield increases ultraviolet B irradiation, in turn causing skin cancer. Recent research suggests that millions of years ago it could also have led to loss of fertility and consequent extinction in plants and animals. And so here's this insert. He says, during the Permian-Triassic extinction event 252 million years ago, trees may have been exposed to up to 13 times the ultraviolet light of a current sunny day. Researchers put small pine trees under such high levels of light. All seed cones shriveled and died after just a few days, rendering the tree sterile. This will have caused large-scale deforestation and contributed to the mass extinctions of the Permian-Triassic period. So this could be what's also contributing to the die-off of the forest. In conclusion, rising levels of emissions by people constitute existential threats in many ways. Rising temperatures cause heat stress and infertility, and there are domino effects. Furthermore, stratospheric ozone loss causes cancer and infertility. Only once the ozone layer formed on Earth some 600 million years ago could multicellular life develop and survive. Further loss of stratospheric ozone could be the fastest path to extinction for humanity, making care for the ozone layer imperative. As described in an earlier post, Earth is on the edge of runaway warming, and a moist greenhouse scenario means oceans are evaporating into the stratosphere with loss of the ozone layer. So, and then I'm going to lead right into one of the comments that came in under my video from yesterday from Fred Blogs, and this leads right into that. He says, Margo, something you could look into, Margo, and he put a link to this YouTube video, which was a short video that Guy McPherson did recently about how maybe UVC, the ultraviolet C ray, could be coming in through the ozone layer and causing the mass insect population extinction. And Guy didn't know, and he didn't find any peer-reviewed articles on it and this and that. And so I happen to have some information on ozone or UV radiation of different kinds. One of my followers or viewers sent me a lot of links a couple of months ago, and one of the links was to this peer-reviewed journal article called Deadly Ultraviolet UVC and UVB Penetration to Earth's Surface, Human and Environmental Health Implications. And so if you click on that, this was published in March of 2018, so it's not quite a year old. And the lead author on this article is J. Marvin Herndon. Now, if you wonder why this name sounds familiar, he also published the article that I presented called 50 Years After How to Wreck the Environment, and I did a whole video on that a couple of months ago, so you can check that out. And he is a proponent that that because of the geoengineering that's going on across the planet, that it's causing a lot of health problems and also destroying the ozone layer. But so people can't go there in their minds, this is not the article for them, but he's proven it, and I believe it, and all you have to do is look up and see all the crap in the sky that's not normal. So anyway, the abstract, the aims to this paper, and I'm not going to go over the whole paper, but I will leave the link, and I left the link in the comments section. The dangerous portion of ultraviolet radiation is widely believed to be completely absorbed by the atmosphere before reaching Earth's surface. Our objective is to make multiple measurements at Earth's surface of the solar irradiance spectrum in the range 200 to 400 nanometers. And then he describes the methods that he used and the results. Our multifold measurements of solar irradiance spectra demonstrate conclusively that all wavelengths in the spectral range 200 to 400 nanometers reach Earth's surface, contrary to the widespread perception that all UVC and the majority of UVB never reach the surface. We confirm the surface UVC measurements of D'Antoni et al. 2007 that were disputed based on faulty computer model calculations of atmospheric ozone and thereafter ignored by the geoscience community. Conclusions: the veracity of our data and D'Antoni et al.'s data call into question the validity of atmospheric ozone models. Further, we call into question the simplest supposition of the Montreal Protocol that chlorofluorhydrocarbons are the primary cause of ozone depletion, and point to the very heavy burden of halogens introduced into the atmosphere by ongoing jet-sprayed coal fly ash geoengineering. We demonstrate that satellite-based LISIRD solar spectra irradiance at the top of the atmosphere is badly flawed, with some regions of the spectrum being less intense than measured at Earth's surface. This calls into question any calculations made using LISIRD data. We provide introductory information on the devastating effects of UVB and UVC on humans, phytoplankton, coral, insects, and plants. These will be discussed in greater detail in subsequent articles. So this is an 11-page PDF. You can download it, you can go to the link, you can read it. This is peer-reviewed journal paper, and he goes into great detail. And so he says at the end here that the toxicity of UVC, which is 100 to 280 nanometers, is well known. UVC irradiation has lethal effects on insects and microorganisms. UVC radiation induces programmed cell death or apoptosis in plant cells, and so on. And so what this means is the DNA becomes unraveled, and because the UVC interrupts the DNA. And so in conclusion, measurement of solar irradiance spectra in the range 200 to 400 nanometers demonstrates conclusively that all wavelengths in that spectral range reach Earth's surface, contrary to the widespread perception that all UVC and the majority of UVB never reaches the surface. And so what this means is that we're getting radiated inside out, basically, and that the ozone layer is not protecting us from these rays that we used to be protected from. And it's affecting all life on the planet. And so I just, instead of going into a lot of detail, responding to Fred Blogs, I put the link to that article. And then he says, Margo's Healing Corner, thanks so much. I'm an ex-skin cancer sufferer. Now my hood is over my head from 8 a.m. till dark. Yeah, Fred. And, we have to, the information is out there, the studies are out there, but we have to look beyond the normal places that you're going to try and find this information. And we've seen on cams that the ozone hole is moving all over the planet, and no place is safe. And I did some beginning educational videos on ozone, and so you might want to look back through my channel and find those where I talk about some of this stuff. And the UV levels are off the charts, and And so we're on our own here. We're really on our own to try and figure things out, and we have to open our minds and go beyond our what's logical in our left brain and rationality, because it doesn't make sense. So anyway, we're in no man's land. But thank you for your comment, and thank you for being here, Fred Blogs. And now I'm going to go into the rest of the comments here. Marie Scott says they don't post much on Sunday for earthquakes. And what I found, Marie, is that I think the reason for that is a lot of the earthquake makers don't work on Sunday. And the earthquake makers are people who work at construction sites and do quarry blasting and construction blasting, and at Area 51 and the Nevada test site, and they're doing all this stuff underground where we see lots of little earthquakes there and different things. So but yeah, and it could be that they don't report much on Sundays too. I don't know. But thank you, Marie, for your comment, and thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Then Margaret Boucher is a new listener and says, new sub, amazing how as I research and gain knowledge, small channels such as yours come my way. I died in 2011, and when I came to out of the coma, I became interested in earthquakes. The Lord guides us in mysterious ways. Thanks for your reports, Maranatha. Thank you, Margaret Boucher. I appreciate you being here, however you found me, and it's no coincidence. And I've recently become very interested in watching the earthquakes, because I think that, this is a way that we can keep a quick look at what's going on with Mother Earth. It's the pulse of the planet. The magma is flowing through her veins, and we know the time is short. We know we're near the end times, and so this is looking at the signs, and that's what I'm doing. I'm presenting the signs to people so that they can realize how much closer we are to the end and get right with God and Jesus, or get their spiritual house in order, or whatever they're going to do to get ready to leave. So God bless you, Margaret, and I am still a small channel. I would like to stay small. I'm not quite at 2,000 subscribers, but I'm getting new subscribers every day. I'm not monetized, and so I don't make any money doing this. I'm on a mission from God to be reporting on all of this stuff, and I'm boots on the ground and the mouthpiece for Mother Earth, and so I'm reporting and documenting what I'm seeing. So welcome and thank you, Margaret. Tom Bell says, thank you, Margo. You're a star. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you very much. And then David Alcock is one of my friends over in the UK. And he says, hi, Margo. I've noticed something quite profound since you started reading out your comments. Many have said that you are amazing, but have alluded to add the reason why they think that. The main reason is not the subject matter or content that you show. It is not really truly about appreciation of all the exhausting hard work you put in. It is mainly well-deserved praise of your ability to convey critical information that matters to us all, and how you are helping us prepare for the end of our physical lives. Your appeal to good people across the spectrum, no matter what their beliefs or lack of, and whether or not they are just learning of our predicament or, like myself, have seen it coming for a long time, is unique. Thank you, Margo, for your friendship and for being there for me, a sentiment I'm sure is shared by everyone in this wonderful community you have created. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you very much. I'm glad that you're here, and I love that comment, and you're a sweetheart, and I love everyone here, and the community is what we have created. It's not what I've created. We've created it together because we're here and we're thirsty for knowledge and thirsty for the truth, and we want to go beyond just what's put in front of us because we're intelligent. I have some of the most intelligent people viewing and leaving comments. I have scientists and physicists and people from all different walks of life, but they leave these amazing comments, and we all bring pieces of the puzzle to the table, and we're all learning here. And I see it as a global classroom and a way for us to be here, in friendship and communing with each other and holding each other emotionally and spiritually as we're moving into these end times. So thank you, David. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate so very much your friendship and definitely your comments. So on that note, let's go right into our earthquake report. And I have USGS pulled up all magnitudes for the last 24 hours worldwide, and it's showing 170 earthquakes. And remember, it's Martin Luther King Day over here in the United States, so a lot of people are still not at work, and but we're seeing an uptick today. And we're seeing 27 earthquakes worldwide of 2.5 magnitude and higher. The first one that I want to get to before it falls off the map is this 4.2 that I neglected to report on yesterday in South America near San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina. It happened at 4:09 p.m. yesterday, Pacific time, 231 kilometers deep. Yesterday I was so caught up with these that had happened. We had a 6.7 and then a whole bunch of aftershocks down here. I neglected to include this one in my report. So that was a deep earthquake, 231 kilometers, and that will cause movement of the tectonic plates around the planet when you see that. So while we're down here, we've had some more earthquakes come in down here where we saw close to where we had that 6.7 yesterday. There was a 4.8 near Puente Alto, Chile at 12:27 p.m. today, 103 kilometers deep, and a 4.7 near Iapal, Chile at 11:08 this morning, 4.2 kilometers deep. And we can see these are near that red line. This one is almost right on that red line. that goes right down on that western side of South America. Then, moving on up, right off the coast of southern Mexico, there was a 5.8 near San Francisco del Mar, Mexico. It happened at 3:57 this morning, 10 kilometers deep, right near that red line again. Then I'll go ahead and do the Dominican Republic while I'm here. There was a 4.5. They're saying 9 kilometers south of Terra de Bas, Guadalupe at 6:42 this morning, 11 kilometers deep. So that was near one of these islands. These British Virgin Islands. Here's Guadalupe here. So that happened this morning. And then these are, remember, these are in the 2.5 magnitude and higher. There was a 3.2 near Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. 2.7 near San Antonio, Puerto Rico, and a 2.9 near Stella, Puerto Rico. And now let's go to all magnitudes to finish out Dominican Republic. So here's 2.2. We saw the 4.5, we saw the 2.9, 2.7, 3.2, 2.2, and 1.8, and that's all of them. So there were 7 all magnitudes that were reported in that area. Then, up on this mid-Atlantic ridge, there was a 4.9 magnitude earthquake that happened on this northern mid-Atlantic ridge, right on that red line. That happened at 12:18 this morning, right after the eclipse. Right after, well, okay, this is Pacific time. So this would have been 3 hours after the height of the eclipse at 10 kilometers deep. So there's that. Now down here in the South Pacific, there were 2 near New Caledonia. These came in right after I finished my report yesterday. There was a 5.5, 10 kilometers deep, and a 5.7, 10 kilometers deep, right near that red line. These were in the ocean, so they didn't cause any damage. But if they'd been on land, they would have probably caused some damage. Then up here at the Philippines, there was a 5.0, 187 kilometers east-southeast of Sarangani, Philippines. It happened at 8:47 this morning, 11 kilometers deep. Then moving up into the Japan area, here's a 4.7 near Chichishima, Japan at 3:30 this morning, 21 kilometers deep, right next to this red line. And then one to the north of the mainland, a 4.3 near Hochinoa, Japan at 4:24 p.m. yesterday. 35 kilometers deep. We're not showing anything else over there. Then up here in the Aleutian Islands was a 4.7. This was part of Alaska, near Buldeer Island, Alaska, at 9:27 p.m. last night. So right near the height of the eclipse, 35 kilometers deep. Let's look at that. That was in the ocean, so it wasn't actually on land. So now let's go, while we're up here in near Alaska, let's go up here. So these are 2.5 magnitude and higher. I'll just call these off. 3.0 Katovik, 0 kilometers deep. 2.5 Anchorage. 2.9 near Kodiak, was out here in the Gulf of Alaska. 2.5 near Kodiak Station, and a 2.5 near Coho, Alaska. Now let's look at all magnitudes for Alaska. Well, I think I've got too many browser windows open, is what's making things kind of squirrely here. Gonna close that. Close that. And I'm going to open this up a little bit. So we have about it looks like 65 earthquakes in Alaska, in the Alaska area, in the last 24 hours. And we can see them coming down, dotted down, coming down through midline, down through the state. And they're still clustering down here in the Anchorage area. The majority of them are in this Anchorage area, and they're small. It's showing 47 on the map right here. And the largest one I saw was like a 2.5, and the rest of them were in the ones range, between 1 and 2. So that's still moving. Now let's go to Hawaii while we're over here. And we've got 15. So we're seeing an uptick today in Hawaii. So I'll just call them off and click them off. 1.7, 1.9, 2.3. So that's a little higher. That was at Lalani Estates. 1.8, 2.2, 2.0, 1.8, 2.4 at near Honoka'a, Hawaii. 1.8, 1.8, 1.9, 2.1, 2.0, 1.8, and 1.9. Now, the majority of those happened right down here near Volcano, Hawaii. So, see, when you zoom in, there's the crater, Kilauea crater. So, is something about to happen again? Is that going to ramp up? I don't know. I don't know. But we've got 11 right there. Right there, right around that Kilauea crater. So something could be ramping up there. So we'll have to watch that. Now let's go over to the United States. And we saw some earthquakes in some places that we don't normally see them, and some larger ones, larger size, that we don't normally see. Here in northern Oklahoma was a 3.6 near Helena, Oklahoma. It happened at 9:27 last night, 10 kilometers deep, so that was right after the peak of the eclipse. So that's pretty big to be as a result of a fracking operation, plus it was at night, but you know, the earth could have gotten weak because of all the fracking, and it creates a punch point, a weak point for pressure to be released. And then there was a 2.9 at Wellington, Kansas at 5:29 p.m. yesterday, 10 kilometers deep. And we're still seeing a lack of activity up in the Yellowstone area today. Here we are seeing activity. There's a 2.5 at Enterprise, Utah at 1:01 p.m. today, 6.6 kilometers deep. Then up here in the northwest area, we've got 4 on the map. We've got a 1.6 near Langford, Canada, right there on the coastline. 0.8 near Eatonville, Washington, right here. A 0.9 near Morton, Washington. And here was an explosion. A 1.8 right here near Castle Rock, Washington, at a minus 0.4 kilometers depth. This happened at 3:46 p.m. today. So this was from a blast, a construction blast, and with it being a negative height, 0.4 kilometers in height, it means that they were blasting up on a hillside or a mountainside, or in a mountain or a hill. Then we're noticing that Nevada is eerily quiet as well. There's been one in Nevada. It was a 2.1 that came in near Warm Springs yesterday at 5:49 p.m., 16 kilometers deep. But it's still eerily quiet. Here's one on the border, a 1.2 that came in yet last night at 9:12, almost at the height of the eclipse, 0 kilometers deep. Then up here in Northern California was a 3.3 near Chester, and it came in last night at 8:11 p.m. So let's look at that. And it's in the middle of Almanor Lake. See? Or Lake Almanor. That's kind of a lot of people go fishing up there in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's beautiful. I've driven up there. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so that there was a 3.3, 1.9 kilometers in depth. So that's getting on up there in magnitude. Then here was a 2.7 near Brook Trails, California. Then this one is about to fall off the map. It's 2.9 near Petrolia. Happened at 4:17 yesterday. I think I got that on my report. I don't know if I did or not. So it's right on the end of that San Andreas fault line, 18 kilometers deep. Then the geysers have had activity. They've had 7 at the geysers. They've been small, 0.7 up to like 1.6 right here in that area. And not very many in California. Here's one near the San Andreas fault line, a 1.8 near Gilroy. Then here's some more coming down, a 1.9 near Cantua Creek, 2.0 near Pinnacles, and 1.9 near Pinnacles. Now, let's go. Did I get this one? Yeah, I got that one. Then there's one down here by itself, a 2.0 near Estacadero, California. It happened at 11:11 this morning, 4 kilometers deep. Now I'd like to go down to the Mammoth Lakes area. We've had some activity down here today. We're showing 8 earthquakes right in this area, and there was, it's showing a 3.0 on the USGS map here. This is part of the Long Valley caldera. Right down here, we had a whole cluster. On the local news at noon today, they reported it as a 3.5. But apparently USGS likes to downgrade everything, so they're reporting it as a 3.0. And then in this same region, I'll just call them off: 0.9, 0.9, 1.2, 0.8, 3.0, 1.6, 1.4, and 1.2. So it's showing movement, and especially with that higher magnitude, you know, we want to be watching that, because that Long Valley caldera is a place of concern, and that a lot of people are worried about that blowing. 2.0 at Coso Junction, 1.3 near Little Lake, 1.6 near Kernville, 1.7 near Tehachapi, and now, I wish it wouldn't do that. We got that one. Now we're moving on down into Southern California. Okay, we got those. Tehachapi, we got those. Now, okay, we're not seeing any down on the Mexico side. We'll get all these in the map area here. This is showing 40 on the viewing area. Here's a 2.1 near Inglewood. That's one of the larger ones. I remember this Salton Sea area where there was that big cluster. We're going to look at that. But I did see a quarry blast down here today. A 1.4 quarry blast. Right down here near Rancho San Diego. This happened at 12:45 p.m. today, 4.8 kilometers in depth. So some people are back at work making earthquakes. Construction workers, I guess they don't get to take Martin Luther King Day off. But I imagine we'll be seeing the earthquakes coming up in Nevada again tomorrow, because the people who work for the state they'll be back at work tomorrow. They'll be making more earthquakes. So let's look down here. We've got 4. So this is calmed down here in this Calipatria area. Let's look at the Kauai area. 23 in this viewing area. Right down here especially. So all of those are important because they're showing movement no matter what the cause is. It's showing movement, and it's not static. Everything is moving. Uh-oh, look. Oh my gosh, look at this big one that just came in. 6.0 near Bogo Rawatu, Indonesia. This came in at, well, they posted it. They just now posted it, but they said it happened at 3:59 p.m. Pacific time, so about 4 o'clock. They just now got it on the map though, because it's 4:24 right now. 24 kilometers deep. Let's look at this. So it happened in the ocean. Let's see if there's a tsunami warning for this. What you do, you go down here, and they don't have it listed here. It's not down here, so there's no tsunami warning. But that's good size, 6.0, and you know, that's what we look for, is these larger ones that are going to be coming in, and we look for the depth. And that was 24 kilometers deep, so it wasn't real deep, but with the shallower ones, they're worried about tsunamis happening. With the more deep ones, and the bigger they are, the more the shaking of the tectonic plates will happen around the planet. Let's see if anything else got posted while we were doing our report. I'm going to go to this 2.5 magnitude and higher. We saw Coho, Alaska. We saw Enterprise, Utah. We saw these 2 over in Chile. We saw the one in Mammoth Lakes. We saw that one. I think that's it. Okay, this 2.6 just came in at Redoubt Volcano, Alaska, 98 kilometers deep. So things are still moving, and you know, I'll be attempting to bring these reports to you on a daily basis. Some days I won't be able to do it, just depending on my schedule and my energy level. I mean, you know, I do have a life too, hard to believe, but I do believe that time is short, and that we are in the end times, and that we need to get our spiritual houses in order so that we can get ready to leave the planet. So I love all of you very much. And until next time, go in peace. God bless everyone, and goodbye.